This coin almost ended up in a pocket full of loose change, but today it's valued at over $1 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary, yet so rare, that it could change your entire life in an instant. That's the chilling mystery of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks just like every other penny you've ever seen. Copper-colored, worn edges, Lincoln's familiar profile staring to the right. Most people would toss it in a jar without a second thought. But collectors know, beneath its humble surface lies one of the most shocking stories in coin history. The year was 1978. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. Denver struck theirs with a bold D mark. San Francisco used its S. But Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage, struck pennies with no mint mark at all. Ordinary, right? Not this time. Hidden among those billions of strikes, a small number emerged with mysterious flaws, off-metal strikes, and microscopic details so rare that dealers and collectors were stunned. One coin, plucked out of circulation decades later, ended up at an auction block. When the hammer fell, it sold for a staggering sum, enough to buy a house outright. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because the story didn't end there. More of these 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies began surfacing, each with peculiar features. Some showed unusual doubling on Lincoln's profile. Others had die cracks that looked like lightning bolts slashing across the memorial. And then there were the off-metal strikes, pennies that weren't even struck on copper but on leftover dime planchets. These weren't just oddities. They were miracles of chance. Collectors whispered about them. Dealers searched furiously. And the value skyrocketed. A coin that most people thought was worth just 1 cent was now commanding 6 figures. In one case, an extraordinary specimen fetched nearly $1.8 million. A single penny, worth more than gold, more than diamonds, more than anyone could have imagined. What made this coin so desirable, so untouchable? The answer lies in the minting process itself. Mistakes at the mint are like accidents of fate, they aren't supposed to happen. Every die, every strike, every planchet is designed to be flawless. But in 1978, tiny errors slipped through unnoticed. And those errors transformed a common coin into an artifact of history. Think about that for a moment. Billions of pennies rolled off those presses. And yet only a handful contained the secrets that would stun the coin world decades later. The odds of finding one in circulation are so slim it feels impossible. And yet, time and time again, stories surface of ordinary people pulling life-changing coins from pocket change. One man discovered his coin stuck to the bottom of a soda machine. Another found his in an old coffee can in the garage. Their discoveries turned into headlines, their pennies into fortunes, but here's where it gets even more thrilling. Many people don't even know what to look for. They hold the coin in their hand and think it's just another penny. They spend it at the gas station, drop it in a tip jar, or leave it behind in the couch cushions. And every time that happens, the chance for $1 million discovery slips away unnoticed, and that's why you need to know the secrets of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Because without this knowledge, the treasure could slip right through your fingers. First, check the mint mark. Or rather, the lack of one. A 1978 penny with no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. But not every Philadelphia penny is valuable. What makes it rare is when it carries hidden errors. Look closely at Lincoln's profile. On some coins, doubling can be seen around his eye, his chin, or his hair. Under magnification, this doubling looks like a shadow, an eerie ghost of the original design. That doubling alone can turn a penny into a collector's dream. Next, flip the coin over. Inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Do you see cracks running through the design, almost like veins in marble? Those are die cracks, mistakes that occurred during the striking process. The bigger, bolder, and stranger the crack, the more valuable the coin. Collectors pay astonishing sums for dramatic examples, but the holy grail lies in off-metal errors. A 1978 penny struck on a dime planchet is smaller, thinner, and often has missing design details near the rim. These coins are breathtakingly rare. When one surfaces, the bidding wars begin. And that's where prices soar into the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, into million-dollar territory. And now imagine this. You've got a jar of pennies in your kitchen. dusty, forgotten, maybe filled with coins from the 70s. You reach in, pull one out, and there it is, a 1978 no-mint mark penny. At first, it looks like nothing. But under the light, you see a glimmer of doubling. Your heart races. Could it be? Could this be the one? The same coin others have sold for life-changing sums? That moment, the chance, is what keeps collectors searching day and night, and the truth is, these treasures are still out there. The U.S. Mint struck over 5 billion pennies in 1978. Many have been lost, destroyed, or forgotten. But others remain tucked away in jars, drawers, and collections that haven't seen the light of day in decades. Somewhere, sitting quietly in the dark, is a penny that could be worth more than $1 million. Collectors know this. Dealers know this. That's why the hunt never stops. Because the discovery of a single coin can rewrite someone's destiny. It can transform pocket change into a fortune. It can turn an ordinary moment, a casual glance at a coin, into the most extraordinary event of your life. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. Tomorrow, when you sort through old jars of coins, pay attention. And if you find a 1978 penny without a mint mark, don't dismiss it. Examine it carefully. Because the tiny copper coin could be hiding a secret worth $1.8 million, and when you find it, remember this moment. Remember that you heard the story, you learned the truth, and you took the time to look. Because the next $1 million discovery won't come from chance alone. It will come from the eyes of those who know what to see. Of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, rare, mysterious, and unforgettable. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up forgotten, tossed aside as just another penny, but when it surfaced at auction, it stunned collectors and sold for nearly $2 million. It's a 1982 Lincoln penny, a coin millions of people have seen, but almost no one realizes could be hiding a secret worth up to $1.90 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk could be worth more than a luxury home. Why is one ordinary-looking penny turning the coin world upside down? And more importantly, could you have one sitting in your pocket right now? The year was 1982. The U.S. Mint was in the middle of a major change. For decades, pennies had been made mostly of copper. But copper prices were rising, and the mint decided to switch to a cheaper metal, zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. This change created chaos. Some pennies were struck in copper, others in zinc. Some carried a small D mint mark for Denver, others had no mint mark at all. And somewhere in this storm of transition, mistakes slipped through. One mistake created the 1982 D penny that could change your life. There isn't just one type of 1982 penny. There are 7 different varieties: copper, zinc, large date, small date, with or without mint marks. Most are worth only a cent. A few are worth a few dollars. And then, there's the holy grail. A single 1982 D penny struck in the wrong metal, the wrong way, that today commands up to $1.9 million at auction. Collectors were shocked when this discovery first surfaced. Imagine thinking you've seen every kind of Lincoln cent, only for one coin to rewrite history, and yet, it happened. A coin dealer, sorting through what should have been ordinary pennies, suddenly realized one felt heavier in the hand. He weighed it, and the numbers didn't make sense. This wasn't zinc. This was copper. A Denver minted penny, from 1982, in copper, when every official record said it shouldn't exist. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin was sent to experts. Under magnification, it revealed its truth. The D mint mark was clear. The weight matched copper. And when the hammer fell at auction, collectors fought furiously, pushing the price to the kind of money people only dream of, nearly $2 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. No one knows exactly how many of these 1982 D copper pennies are still out there. Could there be one sitting in a jar of coins in your kitchen? Could there be one rattling around in your glove compartment, ignored for decades? Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 1982 penny, hoping to find one of these rare treasures. Entire collections are being re-examined. People are digging through old rolls of coins, desperate for the chance of striking gold, or in this case, copper. But here's what most people miss: the tiny details that separate a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth $1.90 million. The date matters. The mint mark matters. But most of all, the weight matters. A zinc penny weighs just 2.5 grams. A copper penny weighs 3.1 grams. That difference may sound small, but it could mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing fortune. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, feeling its weight, and realizing you're holding a piece of history worth more than $1 million, but it's not just about weight. In 1982, the Mint experimented with large and small date designs. To the untrained eye, they look the same. But look closely, the curves of the numbers, the shape of the two, the height of the date, these subtle differences tell the story. Collectors who know how to spot them are ahead of the game. Collectors who don't, walk right past a fortune, and here's where it gets even more mysterious. Some experts believe more 1982 D copper pennies were struck by accident and are still hiding in circulation. Every year, new discoveries shake the coin world. Just when collectors think all the treasures have been found, another one surfaces. Would you sell it immediately and cash in? Or would you hold on to it, knowing that its value could rise even higher as collectors battle to own the rarest Lincoln penny of all time? This isn't just a coin. It's a story of survival. A mistake that slipped past inspectors. A secret that sat unnoticed for decades. A treasure waiting for the right pair of eyes, and tonight, as you listen to this story, that treasure could be sitting closer than you think, because the truth is simple: most people never check their change. Most people never weigh their coins. Most people never realize what's hiding in plain sight, but now you know to look at every 1982 penny with a D mint mark. You know to check the weight. 3.1 grams means copper, and copper means the impossible. You know to study the date, to look for those subtle details that can change everything, and if you find one, you'll join the tiny group of people who have turned a single penny into a story worth telling for generations. Collectors will whisper your name. Dealers will chase your coin. And the world will know that the greatest treasures don't always glitter. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain copper. So the next time you reach into your pocket and feel that familiar round shape, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it into a jar without looking. Hold it up. Study it. Weigh it. Because that little coin could be the one. The 1982 D Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.9 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a coffee can, buried in a basement, forgotten for decades, but when it resurfaced, it shocked the entire coin world by being valued at nearly $1 million, the 1963 D Lincoln penny. A coin so common, so ordinary in appearance, that most people would never give it a second glance. Yet hidden within a few rare examples lies a minting mystery that transformed ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasure. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers hunt for it. And one man's casual discovery nearly rewrote coin history. But how could a penny minted in Denver in 1963, a year when billions were struck, possibly be worth up to $1 million? The answer is in the details. Back in 1963, America was on the edge of a new era. Kennedy was president. The space race was in full swing. And the Denver Mint was working at full capacity, striking billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. These coins were meant to be plentiful, everyday tokens of commerce. But in the chaos of high production, something unexpected happened. A small number of 1963 D pennies were struck with microscopic irregularities. Doubled dies. Off-center strikes. Planchet errors. At first glance, they look like every other penny, but under closer inspection, the mistakes are breathtaking. Collectors were stunned when one surfaced at auction, its doubling on the obverse so sharp, so undeniable, that bidding went through the roof. A coin that could have been spent on a stick of gum sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And whispers began, could there be more out there? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another 1963 D surfaced, this time with a striking off-metal error. Instead of being struck on the usual copper planchet, it had been mistakenly struck on a silver-colored blank intended for a dime. That one error made this single penny worth a fortune. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Stories spread like wildfire. Suddenly, the most ordinary year of the Lincoln penny wasn't so ordinary anymore. Someone empties their pocket change into a jar, unaware that a life-changing coin sits among the pile. For decades, it rests unnoticed, until finally, a sharp-eyed collector picks it up, studies the details, and realizes the truth. That single moment could turn forgotten change into $1 million miracle, and it has happened. 1963 D penny, preserved in near pristine condition, with a flawless strike and blazing red luster, sold for a jaw-dropping price that left even veteran collectors speechless. The rarity wasn't just in its minting mistake, but in its survival. Most pennies from this year were spent, worn down, scratched, or discarded. But this one gleamed as if it had just left the press. That's why it commanded such an extraordinary price. Millions of these pennies are still out there, sitting in drawers, tucked in shoeboxes, hidden in jars of change. And most people don't even know it. Think about that. Somewhere, maybe even in your home, could be a coin that looks like a penny, but is actually worth $1 million. Collectors call this the silent treasure. A coin that hides in plain sight. First, look closely at the date. Some rare 1963 D pennies show doubling on the numbers, especially on the 3. Under magnification, the numbers appear to have shadows, 2 impressions instead of 1. That's a double die, and collectors will pay huge sums for it. Second, examine the mint mark. On a few rare examples, the D is repunched, meaning the die struck it twice in slightly different positions. To most people, it looks like a smudge. To collectors, it's a golden ticket. Third, check the metal itself. Some 1963 D pennies were accidentally struck on foreign planchets or dime blanks. If the coin looks silvery, weighs differently, or feels unusual, you may have stumbled on one of the rarest errors in American coinage. And finally, condition matters. A circulated penny with heavy wear won't command record-breaking prices. But a mint state, blazing red 1963 D with a dramatic error? That's where the $1 million miracles happen. But what makes this story so unbelievable is that these coins weren't supposed to exist. The mint had strict quality controls. Mistakes like this were meant to be caught, melted down, destroyed before they ever reached the public. Yet somehow, against all odds, a few slipped through. And those few have become legendary. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. And suddenly, the humble 1963 D penny was no longer just change, it was a symbol of hidden fortune. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. At a major coin show, a man walked in with a small envelope of coins he had saved since childhood. Inside was a 1963 D penny. Dealers glanced at it, then froze. The doubling was unmistakable. The color was pristine. They knew instantly what they were holding. Bidding wars erupted before the coin even hit the auction block. That coin went on to fetch a life-changing sum, nearly $1 million, and that's why collectors today are obsessed with checking every 1963 D penny they find. Because while most are worth a cent, a handful are priceless. Start looking. Pull out your jars of change. Open the drawers. Check those rolls of pennies that have been sitting untouched for decades. Because in one of them could be the coin that changes everything. Look for doubling on the date. Watch the D mint mark for signs of repunching. Weigh the coin if you suspect an off-metal strike. And above all, look for condition. The redder, the sharper, the better. This is not just a story about a coin. It's a story about hidden wealth, about miracles hiding in plain sight. It's proof that even the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary value. And as you listen to this, somewhere in America, a 1963 D Lincoln penny worth over $1 million is waiting to be found. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a grocery store register, but instead, it turned into a $1 million miracle. Yes, a simple 1996 D mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind you've probably handled without thinking twice, has sold for staggering amounts, with some rare examples worth up to $1.1 million. How could a coin struck just a few decades ago, one that was meant to be ordinary pocket change, rise to become one of the most coveted treasures in the coin world? The story of the 1996 D penny is not one of ordinary value, it's one of shocking mistakes, hidden details, and life-changing discoveries, because buried in the Denver Mint's production that year was a mystery that nobody saw coming. Thousands, even millions of coins were struck in 1996. Most slipped into circulation unnoticed. People spent them, dropped them in parking lots, tossed them into jars, or left them to rust in drawers. But a handful, a tiny fraction, were different, and that difference turned them into gold mines. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector in Colorado claimed he pulled a 1996 D penny straight from pocket change, only to realize under a magnifying glass that something was wrong. The strike wasn't normal. The lettering seemed doubled, faintly ghosted, almost whispering a secret from the metal itself. He thought maybe it was worthless. Maybe just damage. But he trusted his gut and sent it for grading. Weeks later, the call came back. His jaw dropped. The coin wasn't damaged. It was a rare minting error, one that could change his life forever. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. And suddenly, the once ignored 1996 penny was making headlines. But here's the thing most people don't realize: this coin hides in plain sight. That same year, the Denver Mint used multiple dies, and some were flawed. Some struck pennies with doubled designs. Others produced coins with off-center strikes so dramatic they look like accidents frozen in time. A few even left behind mysterious die cracks, tiny raised lines across Lincoln's face, the memorial, or the date. And here's the chilling truth: most people who saw these coins never recognized what they had. They spent them like pocket change, unaware they were letting go of a fortune. Condition, rarity, and the smallest details most eyes overlook, because in the world of coin collecting, details are everything. 1996 penny with an extraordinary error, struck on the wrong planchet, shocked the auction world by selling for hundreds of thousands. Another in pristine, uncirculated condition, shimmering with luster like it just left the press, fetched a jaw-dropping figure that pushed it toward the $1 million mark. And here's the part that leaves collectors speechless: it's not just one lucky person who found such a treasure. Stories keep surfacing. A coin dealer in Texas revealed he bought a bag of 1996 pennies for face value, only to discover one misstruck coin hiding among them, later selling for enough money to buy a brand new car. Another collector spotted the tiniest doubling on the date, had it authenticated, and watched the bidding war explode in front of his eyes. But what makes the 1996 penny so dangerous to overlook is how ordinary it seems. Think about it. How many times have you seen that shiny D mint mark below the date and shrugged it off? How many times have you let it slide through your fingers without giving it a second glance? That exact penny could have been your $1 million ticket. But wait, it gets even stranger. Some experts believe certain dies at the Denver Mint in 1996 were misaligned in a way that wasn't caught until it was too late. That means more of these error coins might still be out there, unrecognized, sitting quietly in coin jars, forgotten in piggy banks, or resting in dusty dresser drawers. And this is where collectors' blood runs cold, because every time someone digs through their old change, there's a chance they could stumble upon one. Imagine the moment. You open a coin roll, expecting nothing. You pour the pennies onto your table. They clink and scatter. And then you see it, a 1996 penny that looks just a little off. The letters don't line up quite right. Lincoln's bust looks doubled, ghostly. Or maybe the coin is struck so far off center it seems impossible it ever left the mint. Could you be holding a coin worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even over $1 million? That exact scenario has already changed lives. Collectors have turned simple pennies into down payments on houses. Others have used them to pay off debts, to retire early, to secure a future they never thought possible. All from a coin most people would overlook. And yet, the hunt continues, because the 1996 penny is not just about money. It's about possibility. It's about hope. It's about the thrill of finding something extraordinary where nobody else thought to look. Dealers know it. Collectors know it. And now, you know it too. Start with the mint mark. You're looking for the small d just below the date 1996. Next, study the coin under a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." If you see doubling, faint, shadow-like repeats of the letters, you may have a doubled die error. Check the alignment. If Lincoln's face or the memorial on the reverse seems shifted, tilted, or off-center, you could be staring at a valuable misstrike. Inspect the coin's surface. Raised lines, cracks, or unusual bumps may be die breaks, and collectors prize them. And finally, condition is king. If your coin still shines with mint luster, without scratches or wear, the value skyrockets. Many people mistake ordinary damage for true mint errors. A scratched coin, a coin run over by a car, or one corroded in the ground is just damage and worth a penny. The key is authenticity. Always get it graded and authenticated by a trusted service before assuming you've struck gold, because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million is knowing what you're looking for. So the next time you hold a 1996 penny in your hand, don't dismiss it. Don't spend it without a second look, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's change jar, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1968 D Lincoln penny, the kind you've probably seen thousands of times, turned out to be one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discovered. Why would a penny struck in the late 1960s suddenly shake the entire coin world and leave collectors stunned? The answer lies in a mistake. A mistake so small, so easily overlooked, that most people will never notice it, but for the few who do, it can mean a life-changing fortune. Back in 1968, the Denver Mint was running at full speed. The demand for coins was enormous. Billions of pennies poured out of those presses, each one carrying Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait. But deep inside those massive machines, something went wrong. A handful of coins came out, different, some bore doubling, a rare minting error that made the date, the lettering, and even Lincoln's features appear doubled. Others carried unusual die flaws, planchet defects, or striking irregularities that made them one of a kind. And when collectors finally discovered these mistakes, the value skyrocketed. One of these coins, a 1968 D penny, shocked the world when it sold for nearly $1.20 million. Not because it was made of gold, not because it was encrusted with jewels, but because of its rarity, its tiny, overlooked imperfection that turned ordinary copper into treasure. But what happened next stunned even the most experienced collectors. Because after that sale, people across America began searching their pockets, their drawers, their piggy banks. Coin dealers were suddenly flooded with calls. Do I have the right penny? Could mine be the $1 million one? The frenzy was real, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some of these 1968 D pennies were discovered in the most unexpected places. One collector found his sitting in an old cigar box in the attic, another uncovered one in a jar of coins left behind by his grandfather. Stories of discovery spread like wildfire, and the legend of the $1 million penny only grew stronger. But let's pause here for a moment, because the real secret isn't just in the year, it's in the details. If you're holding a 1968 penny right now, look closer. Yes, there's a small D under the date, just above the rim. That's the Denver Mint mark. But here's the twist: not all Denver pennies are valuable, only the rare ones with errors, doubling, unusual strikes, or pristine condition are worth a fortune. And condition is everything. A coin with scratches, dents, or where might still be worth a little. But a coin preserved in flawless, almost mirror-like condition, that's where the millions come in. Collectors call these gem-uncirculated coins, coins that look as if they've never seen the light of day. And when a 1968 D penny with the right error appears in that kind of condition, the price doesn't just climb, it explodes. But here's the most chilling part of the story: many of these pennies were spent decades ago, forgotten in circulation. Some were probably dropped into vending machines. Others slipped into cash registers and disappeared forever, but a few, just a few, are still out there, waiting to be found. You're counting change from the grocery store, and tucked between the nickels and dimes is a penny from 1968. You glance at it, ready to toss it into a jar, but then something catches your eye. The date looks unusual, the letters seem doubled, your heart races. This is the moment collectors dream of, the moment when an ordinary coin transforms into $1 million miracle. And what makes it even more powerful is the mystery. Because the US Mint never announced these mistakes, they were never supposed to exist. Every single one slipped through by accident, hidden in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins. Dealers whisper about them at shows, collectors swap stories late into the night, and when one surfaces at auction, the bidding war is fierce, electric, unforgettable. But let's reset for a moment. Here's what you need to do. Step 1, check the date. It must be 1968, with the tiny D Mint mark just below it. Step 2, examine the details carefully. Look for doubling in the letters Liberty or In God We Trust. Look closely at Lincoln's face. Even the smallest doubling can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. Step 3, condition matters. If your coin looks sharp, clean, and unworn, protect it immediately. Store it in a case. Never clean it, never scratch it, never let it rub against other coins, and if you think you found one, get it graded by a professional, because only certified coins achieve those jaw-dropping prices at auction. How many $1 million pennies are sitting quietly in forgotten drawers, coffee cans, or coin jars, and who will be the next collector to stumble across one and change their life forever? Because make no mistake, this is not just about copper and metal, this is about history. It's about chance. It's about the thrill of knowing that something so small can carry a story so powerful, and a value so unimaginable. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore the pennies. Don't overlook the ordinary, because one of them, a single, shining 1968 D Mint mark Lincoln penny, could rewrite your future. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for nearly $1.20 million. Dealers are still chasing them, searching day and night, and the truth is simple: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, a plain 1980 penny with no mint mark, the kind most people would toss into a jar or spend without a second thought. But one collector's discovery turned that tiny piece of copper into a fortune, and when the gavel dropped at auction, jaws hit the floor. Because this ordinary-looking Lincoln cent was suddenly worth up to $1.3 million, why? Because hidden inside this coin is a mystery. A mistake. A detail so rare and so easily overlooked, that even seasoned collectors missed it for years. The year was 1980. America was in the middle of change. Inflation was high, gas prices were climbing, and people were busy with their lives. Nobody thought much about the coins in their pockets. But inside the U.S. Mint, something unusual happened, and the result was a penny unlike any other. Normally, in 1980, pennies minted in Philadelphia carried no mint mark. That wasn't unusual. But what was unusual was that some of these coins were struck with subtle errors, invisible at a glance, but dramatic in value. Slight doubling on the date. A faint but unmistakable shift in the lettering. Even small variations in how the copper-plated zinc was pressed created anomalies that would later send shockwaves through the coin world. Collectors couldn't believe it. One penny, the kind you'd find in a vending machine, suddenly became a treasure worth hundreds of thousands. And in a few cases, over $1 million. But what made it even more mysterious was how many people threw these coins away, never realizing what they had. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man, sorting through his late father's belongings, stumbled upon a dusty old jar filled with pennies. Among them sat a 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, slightly off-center, with a doubling on the obverse so sharp that even under poor lighting, it jumped out at him. He sent it in for grading, expecting maybe $100 in value. When the results came back, his hands shook. The graders confirmed he had stumbled on one of the rarest error varieties in existence. When it sold, the price skyrocketed past all estimates, climbing to over $1 million. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Dealers rushed to re-examine their own inventory. Collectors started hunting through rolls of 1980 pennies, desperate to find another example. Suddenly, a coin everyone ignored was at the center of a frenzy. Stories began pouring in: faint doubled dies, clipped planchets, striking errors, and even a few transitional pieces with unusual weight. Every discovery added fuel to the fire. Could it be that a common coin, produced by the millions, secretly hid a handful of million-dollar treasures? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1980 penny without a mint mark isn't just valuable because of its year or design. It's valuable because of the imperfections, the hidden mistakes left by the mint. Some show a dramatic doubling on the words, "In God We Trust." Others carry a misaligned strike, or Lincoln's profile sits just slightly off the center. To an untrained eye, it looks like damage. But to a collector, it's a golden ticket, and here's where the suspense grows even deeper. Because thousands of these pennies are still out there. Sitting in drawers. Hiding in dusty boxes. Forgotten in coffee cans, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely. That means anyone, even you, could stumble upon one tomorrow. The answer lies in the details. First, check the weight. In 1980, pennies were made of 95% copper, weighing 3.11 grams. If you find one significantly lighter, you may have a transitional planchet error, a coin struck on the wrong metal. That's where some of the million-dollar sales come from. Next, inspect the lettering with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, especially on the date, the words Liberty, and In God We Trust. Sharp, clear doubling is the sign of a true treasure. Finally, examine the strike. Off-center strikes or broad-struck errors can command staggering prices. Collectors were shocked when these details came to light. Dealers who once dismissed 1980 pennies as common now fight to own the rarest examples. Auction houses whisper of private sales climbing into 6 and 7 figures. And the story continues to inspire new treasure hunters every single day. You're holding a penny in your hand. Just 1 cent worthless, almost. But under the right conditions, with the right hidden mistake, that single coin could change your life forever. That's the thrill of collecting. That's the heartbeat of the hunt. So the next time you empty your pockets, don't overlook the pennies. Especially not the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent. Look closely. Feel the weight. Inspect the details. Because one day soon, someone will pull a coin like this from circulation, send it in for grading, and watch the world gasp as it sells for a fortune.